Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey Dylan.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm singing a happy tune. It's the month of June.
Oh, I like that.
Summer's on its way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, summer always makes me happy.
See, I rhymed with you. I was like, okay.
Now, I got to tell our listeners a story. So yesterday, I discovered there was a little bird nest in one of my hanging baskets. And I saw the little mom feed the little babies and whatever. So I took the basket down and put it like on the porch. And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this, you know.
You're like a big kid.
I get excited, okay? I think nature is exciting. I am a big kid. All of a sudden, I see a snake on the porch. And I start screaming for you because we all know I don't fuck with no snakes, right? So I start screaming for you. You don't know what's happening.
Let's just say I'm indisposed at the moment.
You was in the shitter. So I'm screaming
Wow.
at you. You come out of the bathroom and you're like, what the fuck? You don't know what's going on. And I'm, hysterical and pointing and like, snake, birds, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made you go out on the porch. You picked the basket up, hung it back up.
Put it safely away.
I was so scared that the birds had been eaten by the snake. And then I felt super guilty, like it was all my fault. But today we were able to check the birds. They're still there. They're alive.
Well, it was a tiny snake, according to you.
It's still evil. It's still a little evil bastard.
And it would have been your fault because you took them down from where their mom, following nature's course, had built them a protective nest in one place where the cats and birds or snakes can't get to them. And you got it down looking at it you're 5 years old.
Well, I just was observing. I'm curious.
Your curiosity almost cost those little birds their lives.
Well, I'm not going to take the basket down again. I learned my lesson.
Okay.
But I like science and stuff.
Okay, so here we are in the Mountain Murder Studio.
The world is burning down all around us, literally.
There's literally smoldering cars in California. I mean, a lot's going on.
Our listeners in that area, hope you are staying safe.
Yeah, check yourself safe from the immigration riots in L.A., right? We want to know.
Yeah.
If you are indeed in that area, hit us up at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
The chaos continues, Dylan.
Let us know what's happening in your hood.
2025. I just feel like the last 5 years have been so chaotic.
I told you, the 2020s are some shit.
I don't know what to make of it. Nothing surprises me anymore.
We need to give a shout out to a member of the Mountain Murders family. I'm kind of let's just say that I'm sad about it because I put out a call to be someone's sugar baby.
Okay.
Right? I needed a sugar mama, whatever you want to call it. I need to be supported in some way.
You want to be coddled?
Yeah, and it turns out you found a sugar mama.
I did. Big shout out to Courtney. She knows what she did.
She does know what she did.
She made my life.
Yes.
So I'll just leave it there. Courtney is amazing.
Thank you, Courtney. It was nice meeting you.
She's an amazing, beautiful, lovely person.
We'll have to get up and have a drink one day.
Absolutely.
All right. So, you know what? I don't think we have any time to waste.
No, everything's chaotic and burning down and falling down all around us. We are finding refuge in true crime.
Yeah.
Okay? The safety of murder is better than what's going on around us. Let's get into it, Dylan. Are you ready for this case? I'm telling you, it's a bit of a doozy. It's going to be a lengthy case. There's a lot of information, but I felt like we had to touch on all of the little details just so you can know what a shitbird is involved.
So is it going to be one big fat episode or a two-part?
No, it's a big fat episode, Dylan. It's it's like a big juicy something we're biting into here, big juicy mater of true crime.
Ooh,
we're sinking our teeth into this juicy mater of crime.
We're going to have an organic true
and
crime
I'm telling
sandwich.
you, by the end of this, you are going to be shouting shitbird from the bird's nest from the highest point that you can find.
Okay.
At the top of your head. Are you ready?
Yes.
Jocelyn Denise Branham was born October 13th of 1969 in Morgantown, West Virginia, to parents Bill and Joyce, who had met in high school. Her mother described the 8.5-pound baby as, quote, a big surprise.
Oh, wow.
Is 8.5 pounds considered a big baby?
I mean, that's a pretty healthy baby, right?
I weighed 8.5 pounds.
Okay.
My son was almost 9 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah, I had him naturally with no drugs. That was a big baby.
Damn, I bet that left a mark on you.
Did it?
I'm guessing.
Guess you would know. Bill was a biology major at West Virginia University at the time his daughter was born. Once he received his master's degree, the family was sent to Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas because Bill was in the Air Force ROTC, and that's how he'd gotten his education paid, so he had to, enlist, be commissioned, all that.
Which is a smart plan, actually.
It is a really smart plan. Jocelyn was described as a bright child who crawled, walked, and talked early. She was easy to potty train and never got into mischief. Her parents were very proud. I mean, they really described her as being like the perfect child. After a few months, the family transferred to California, where Bill trained to be a Titan missile crew commander. Eventually, they settled in Arkansas, where he worked as a missile launch technician. In 1974, the family grew with the birth of Laura. Jocelyn loved her role as a big sister, and the girls grew very close. Unfortunately, Dylan, the marriage did not last. Bill and Joyce divorced in 1976, and she took the girls back to West Virginia. The girls spent the summer with their dads and like the school year with their mom, so they kind of had like these, kind of separate lives with mom and dad. Time with their dad was more carefree. Obviously, it's summer. There's no school. They don't have to do all the structure. He had a camper cover on the back of his truck, and they spent a lot of time camping with friends, time outdoors. I mean, maybe a little unconventional nowadays to think about just sleeping in the back of a truck somewhere with your dad and your sister.
Ah, that sounds fun.
But it does sound fun. They did experiments in the science lab where he worked. They made homemade ice cream and had all these different adventures, a lot of outdoor activities, swimming, bird watching, hunting for plants. It sounds like they really had an awesome childhood. Jocelyn was an athletic girl from a young age. She played tennis and volleyball. She was also an all-star softball team player during high school. She scored big on the basketball court, becoming team captain and an all-state honorable mention.
Oh, wow.
In her spare time, she earned a black belt in karate.
Oh, just a little icing on the cake.
Jocelyn graduated from Hedgesville High School in 1988 and attended WVU on a full scholarship, where she played basketball from 1989 to 1992.
Wow, she sounds well accomplished.
For real. Despite her average height, she was one of the school's best three-point shooters ever, like even to this day.
I've always wondered to be that good at something, to hold like a record in some athletic thing that stands for years, even decades sometimes. I wonder what that feels like.
I know, right? I just wonder what it feels like to be good at something.
Oh, you're good at stuff.
To be like really good at something.
You're real good at stuff. Some stuff.
All the stuff we can't talk about on the podcast.
No, you're silly.
I don't think so, but thank you. I have that imposter syndrome. She even tried out for a spot on the Olympic basketball team in 1992.
Damn.
I mean, wow, right? She's very accomplished. She graduated with a double major in marketing and economics. Wesley Brian Earnest was born on May 19th of 1970 to Roger and Patricia in Los Angeles. His father was a state trooper. When he was 5 years old, the family relocated to West Virginia, and his parents divorced when he was around 12 years old. Wesley stayed with his mother, and his younger brother chose to live with his father. Like Jocelyn, Wesley was athletic and played nearly every sport. He entered into West Virginia University in 1988, where he studied civil engineering. He decided later to change his major to mathematics because he wanted to teach math and coach basketball. They met in 1991 outside of a math class. Wesley invited Jocelyn to play basketball, and from there on, they were an instant couple.
Oh, so they kind of hit it off instantly.
Fell in love, and of course, the fact that they're both very athletic, I'm sure it didn't hurt. They had a lot in common.
So they was playing basketball and adding numbers?
I guess. They were described as like whenever you saw one, you saw the other. Inseparable. However, Jocelyn was confident, but she didn't like confrontation, and she didn't always stand up for herself. Early in the relationship, Jocelyn was concerned about Wesley's manipulative and controlling nature. He also had anger issues, which caused Jocelyn to break up with him. Laura thought they were polar opposites. Now that's Jocelyn's sister, Laura. And she could never imagine their relationship being harmonious. So from the time she meets Wesley and she's watching her sister kind of thrive in this relationship, she's also seeing that, like, there's no way these two are ever going to be able to be together. They're so different.
You know, they say opposites attract.
Well, they say that. When they graduated, Wesley moved to Bedford, Virginia to take a job as a math teacher and a basketball coach. So he's living the dream, Dylan.
You know, the only math problem I need to know is you plus me equals love.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
That's all I need to know.
Are you okay? Did you hit your head?
No, this is me. I have all my faculties.
Oh, wow.
I am aware that I'm awake right now.
You have your faculties and your staff?
Yeah.
Okay. Jocelyn remained in West Virginia, and they had a long-distance relationship for 3 more years. And before long, the couple was engaged. And I should say they got back together. I missed this part. Once she had broken up with him because of these anger issues, Wesley would make comments threatening suicide and say things like he would go skydiving and not pull the cord. He couldn't live without her.
Yeah, and I think that, of course, you know, you're always concerned that someone's going to maybe possibly self-harm, but I also think that is a very manipulative thing to do.
Oh, it's very emotionally abusive.
I've seen it. I've lived it.
I've had that similar thing happen in relationships.
And honestly, and I've seen it, you know, in other people around me's relationships, and at none of those, during any of those times, that person they were never going to really harm themselves. That's what I'm trying to say. It was really just a tactic to manipulate, to, like you said, emotionally abuse someone.
Well, Jocelyn couldn't stand the thought of Wesley doing something like that, so she got back together with him.
And see, if you have to stoop to that level to get someone to get back with you, I mean, like, why even bother?
Agreed. So, you know, they get back together. They're doing this long-distance relationship for 3 more years, and before long, they're engaged. Wesley joined a co-ed volleyball team in Lynchburg, Virginia. After games, the teammates would go to Taco Bell. It was through this game that he met the nearly 6-foot-tall Jennifer Landis, a former basketball player at Virginia Commonwealth University. She didn't know what to make of Wesley. He mentioned having a fiance, but would make these offhand remarks. For example, like if they were going out after the game and he had an empty seat next to him at a table, she would say, like, can I sit here? And he would be like, well, don't try anything funny. I'm engaged.
Okay.
And of course, she kind of shrugged it off like, what? I mean, it sounds like she didn't really have a whole lot of interest in him. She thought Wesley was funny, but, you know, a lot of people on the team didn't care for him. They thought he was arrogant. They thought he was a jerk. He had an attitude problem. But Jennifer was like, okay, you know, he can be funny. And she did like how competitive he was on the court, because she was also a competitive person. And I guess if you are at that level where you're playing like a college sport and you're really gifted and talented and excel, you probably are a competitive type of person.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have to have that drive.
Kind of top A personality.
Yeah.
all that.
So she could appreciate that about him. But, other players on the team were intimidated by him. There were also kind of like afraid to share any criticisms of his playing. Like they might sit around and have a discussion and be like, well, next time you need to do this or whatever. But they were really afraid to say anything to Wesley because of his anger issues. But Jennifer was not afraid. She would just tell him like it is. And if he got mad, she would just be like, oh, well. Well, Jennifer started dating another player on the team named Bob Kearns. And Wesley would tell Jennifer, like, I really want you to meet my fiance. I think you two would get along really well. Y'all have a lot in common. So the couple ended up being invited to Wesley and Jennifer's wedding in 1995, but they were unable to make it. Jennifer finally got to meet Jocelyn at a going-away party for Bob's former roommate. Now, at first, she thought Jocelyn talked a lot, but was friendly and bubbly. Jennifer wanted to know her better. Because, again, Wesley had told her, like, you guys have all this stuff in common, and I think you'd get along great. Jocelyn ended up joining the volleyball team once she moved to Virginia after they were married. And the two couples became good friends, like spending a lot of time together, going, playing basketball. They would go play paintball together. They were like the fabulous foursome.
So they're just living it up, having lots of fun.
They shared dinners at each other's houses. In 1997, Wesley and Jocelyn joined Bob and Jennifer on a vacation to a cabin on Lake Harris in Ontario. Bob's grandparents had hand-built this cabin in the mid-1960s. It was primitive. It had no running water or plumbing, but they loved it, especially Jocelyn. Like, she loved this rustic cabin and looked forward to this trip. And once she got there, she was just kind of like in hog heaven because, again, she grew up camping and roughing it with her dad and spending a lot of time outdoors. Jocelyn became close with Jennifer's 7-year-old daughter from a previous marriage, and by all accounts, the women became very close. I mean, they were pretty much instantly best friends. Jocelyn's taken up with the daughter, so, they're all kind of like very intertwined. Jocelyn had gotten a job with First Colony Life. She and Wesley enrolled at Lynchburg College to pursue master's degrees. Wesley earned a master's in education and then pursued a doctorate at the University of Virginia. Jocelyn obtained a master's of business administration from Lynchburg College. Things took a surprising turn for the couple when Wesley decided he was going to become a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh.
Now, this kind of came out of nowhere. Neither had been raised in religious households. Wesley had anger and temper issues, which made Jocelyn hesitant about having children. He had told her that becoming a Jehovah's Witness would help him control his anger.
Have I told you about our Lord and Savior? Or wait.
Well, you knock on my door quite a bit.
I don't even know if the Jehovah Witnesses believe in Jesus. I don't know.
I think they do.
Do they? I know. This is all I know.
I don't know a whole lot about them.
This is all I know, and I'm not even being funny. Like, I'm kind of surprised how little I really do know about the Jehovah Witness religion. And, you can get all the jokes about them coming by your house and bugging you, whatever. But I think
Which they do.
Some of them do. I think you strive to be one of, I think they believe that only like 144,000 or 160,000 people are going to go to heaven. And you strive to be one of that few.
Are you sure?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that part's for real.
All right.
I think that's for real.
Well, I know they don't really celebrate holidays, and they would gather in our downtown area of my hometown, like every afternoon with literature.
Oh.
And try to talk to people on the corner next to the dog bakery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there is part of the kingdom, Kingdom Hall,
I don't think they would listen to this podcast. I'm just saying.
hit me up.
We say fuck a lot.
Well, maybe they say fuck. I don't know that they don't.
I don't know, Dylan.
So if you are a Jehovah Witness and can set me straight, just hit me up at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com and let me know what the 411 is.
I'm pretty sure Michael Jackson's mom was a Jehovah's Witness.
It sounds very economical, and I could go all in on the no holidays or birthday thing.
Okay.
Because you would save so much money
You
as a
save
parent.
money anyway because you don't buy anybody anything.
Well, that's not
When's
true.
the last time that you bought me a gift for a holiday?
I just give you the money.
You don't even do that now. You've gotten lazy. You don't even do that now.
It's harder. No, but I just give you, I'm like, here, buy the things I know you want, and it's just easier that way.
You're lazy now.
Well, it's not lazy.
It is lazy.
I think that's being realistic.
No.
Like, instead of me trying to guess what you
We've
want.
talked about this before, Dylan. You're not going to save face. Okay. Our listeners already know that you don't buy me gifts and you don't bring me flowers, and you've gotten even lazier about handing me money for holidays. You don't even wish me happy holiday. You didn't even wish me happy Mother's Day until I mentioned something about it being
That's
Mother's
not
Day.
true.
It is
That's
true.
not true.
It is true.
Let me go ahead and get happy Mother's Day for next year, and happy birthday. This is on the record for your next birthday. And happy holidays. That covers a few of them.
Cool.
And I hope you have a great 4th of July. That's coming up. Yeah.
You can suck my toe. Jocelyn realized, like I said, she didn't really want to have children with Wesley. And especially now that they would be expected to grow up in this newfound faith.
Now, can I say that, that would be a tough thing to deal with if one or the other in a relationship all of a sudden got religion, quote unquote.
I agree.
Because I think that really changes the dynamic of a relationship.
It sure can.
It's a big deal. And if you're very different on, say, politics or religion.
Just beliefs.
Those things, beliefs are just, those are core values. And that's really a big deal. And it's kind of funny that after all, if you have a temper so bad that even people you play pickup volleyball with on the side are afraid to criticize you, even in the mildest, friendly version of that says a lot that you truly do have a problem.
Yeah.
That you're not addressing or trying.
Sounds like an asshole like my dad.
Well, you're not addressing that. Yeah. And you're not growing as a person.
Well, and I think there's something to be said about being married to someone and kind of realizing, I don't want to have children with you.
Yeah. One of the reasons I don't want to have children with you is because you have a bad temper and you have anger problems.
And now I decided I don't want to have children with you because you have those problems, but you're also suddenly religious.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are red flags that I feel like Jocelyn should have kind of noticed right away. Well, from then on, Jocelyn wouldn't have sex with her husband unless he wore a condom.
Oh.
Because she's like, I'm not getting pregnant by you. We're not having kids.
She's not playing around.
Wesley began to develop a whole new friend group with, this association with church. And we see that, a lot of times if you join a church, you kind of end up having this church family and maybe spending more time with your church friends.
Well, and that's true with any interest that you get.
Yeah. Well, and especially if you're practicing a religion that maybe has these strict rules or expectations, and then your other friends are, kind of doing what they want. I don't know.
It may be even more true with a church family or a church group, honestly, because you're spending lots of time together. You're, claiming to have similar beliefs and all that mess.
Well, anyway, it was kind of creating this a wedge, I guess, between Jocelyn and Wesley. And then, Jennifer and Bob were their good friends. They ended up marrying in 1998, and then they had a child together. And they asked their friends, Jocelyn and Wesley, if they would be Caitlin's godparents. That's the child they had together. Sadly, Jocelyn declined, saying that her husband's religion believed, quote, christening was a Catholic conspiracy.
Wow, hot take.
Wesley's new beliefs, they are pretty strict. They didn't allow for celebrating holidays. Jocelyn took some of this personally because her family celebrated Christmas with a lot of festivity and fun. It was a really big deal in her family. They had a lot of different holiday traditions. She enjoyed it. Growing up, there are those families that really kind of go above and beyond for the holidays.
Yeah.
They decorate. They go all out. Once he agreed to accompany her to West Virginia for Thanksgiving, but he sat in the car while she ate with her family.
See, this is pretty, it's such a big change.
She wasn't able to spend the night or participate in the traditional Black Friday shopping with her mother because of him.
You know, if you feel that strongly about it, maybe you shouldn't have accompanied her to, the dinner at all.
But remember, he's kind of a controlling person.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want her. I'm assuming he doesn't want her to go do something without him.
But I'm saying all your life, you did these things, part of holidays and all that. And then all of a sudden you get these new beliefs, which is fine. You can make that choice. But I mean, do you really have to be that hardcore with it? You can't even, go with your wife to Thanksgiving dinner at her family's. I mean, that's pretty severe in my opinion.
Well, after that, she started going to celebrate with her family alone and not even inviting him.
Well, yeah, because that's weird. Him sitting out in the car in the driveway.
Very much so. Since Jocelyn wasn't allowed to decorate the house for holidays like Christmas or Halloween, she leaned into her friendship with Bob and Jennifer Kern. Jocelyn would help them decorate. She would spend a lot of time baking with them, making costumes for the kids. The only holiday Wesley would celebrate was their wedding anniversary. Despite the changes in Wesley's beliefs, the couple continued going on that annual trip to the Harris Lake cabin with the Kerns. They even considered buying a piece of property nearby. When they didn't snatch up an available lot in time, Wesley focused on buying land near Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia. Wesley finished his PhD in 2000 and took a job at Heritage High School in Lynchburg. Finally, in 2001, they were able to purchase their Dream Lake property in Clearwater Estates. Jocelyn wanted a rustic-style cabin like the Kerns had in Ontario, but Wesley wanted a sprawling, large home bigger than anyone else in the neighborhood so he could, quote, showcase his success.
Okay.
He designed a home with 7 bedrooms, each with a sunset lake view, 6.5 bathrooms, a large deck, and a pretty extravagant 3-boat dock, even though they didn't have a boat.
Or kids.
Or 3.
It's just the two of them.
It's just the two of them.
Even if you're with friends, 7 bedrooms?
He's building a mansion. He's building a lake mansion. He put Jocelyn on a strict budget, having taken control of their marital finances. Jocelyn didn't have extravagant tastes. I mean, she was one, to usually shop at thrift stores or buy stuff on sale. She wasn't really, I guess, much of a shopper. So at first, it's not a big deal.
Well, yeah, it sounds like she's already on, a fairly decent budget. You know what I mean?
Well, and I guess I should mention, I don't think I really mentioned this up front, but it seems that Jocelyn was making far more money working in insurance than Wesley was making teaching.
Which adds up.
Right.
Yeah, that seems...
So she's kind of the breadwinner of the family, making far more money than he is. But then he's controlling her money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, during the summer of 2001, Wesley was busy with his new job and was unable to attend that annual lake trip with their friends, but he didn't want his wife to go either. Jocelyn, who was starting to crave a little bit of autonomy, went anyway. And that's not going to go over well.
And I don't blame her. Now, I would be the first one to tell you, hey, I can't go, which really sucks.
You always encourage me to go.
But you should go. Don't, you don't be held, which I did a lot because, I used to work crazy shift hours.
Well, yeah, but you would always be like, oh, well, I mean, anytime we were invited to go on a vacation or, do something, you would always tell me yeah, go, take the kids. You guys go and have a good time. I've got to work. This sucks, but I want you guys to go. I mean, you were always encouraging.
Well, I think it's weird
us to go have fun.
To want to control your spouse that much. I mean, it's very odd to me.
It is. So by now, Jennifer had begun seeing negatives in her friend Wesley, and she didn't like the way Jocelyn was bullied, especially by her husband. I mean, Jennifer's like, that's your partner. He's the last person who should be treating you this way. Jennifer thought he was teetering on narcissism, consumed by greed and material wealth. He was also controlling, overbearing, and sought approval from others. Wesley compared himself to the genius Matt Damon character in Good Will Hunting. He once said, quote, "That's who I am. That's me."
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Jennifer and Bob noted how Wesley was being overly physically aggressive with Jocelyn. He would try to kiss her and I guess be very sexually kind of forward with her, like in front of these people. I mean, they're friends, but that's awkward, right?
Kiss me now.
Yeah. And so they were just like, what is he doing? And Jocelyn was not really one for PDA. And she had never been. But he would be very grabby with her, whatever. And he made a comment about how the wedding ring entitled him to, quote, access 24/7.
Oh, no. You see, you couldn't even say that jokingly. I don't think that's okay.
Well, Jennifer shot back that most married couples only have sex twice a week. That was normal. And Jocelyn told him, you know what? You can just look elsewhere.
Oh, damn.
I'm not your thing. You don't tell me when and where.
Well, no, I allow you to get some of this. That's the way I present my genitals to you.
You allow me to get some of this?
Yeah.
I have to ask if I can.
Now you take it.
I don't.
Yeah, you do.
You selfish with it. Y'all stingy.
No, you take it. Anytime you're just like on tap.
You be packing it up and hiding it from
It's
me.
like you got a keg of pecker. Just
drink it down. Mine tastes foamy.
It's low calorie.
I think the keg went bad.
Ah.
It's real foamy, like I said. So, I mean, this is likely a very awkward conversation or situation to be in with your friend. Like, I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, when you're close friends like this, it's, you've been friends for a while and you're seeing this kind of evolution in your friend's relationship, and you're comfortable enough to kind of shoot back and forth when you see him being an ass and not afraid to really call him out on it, But it's weird to watch when you see someone you're close with or a couple you're close with. It's almost like you're all in this big relationship together in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is. Well, Wesley got a contractor's license so he could do all the work on the lake house. Because, again, he's very controlling. And he's Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting.
Does he have it? Does he know how?
He's Will Hunting. So he's going to do all the work. He's amazing.
Does he have experience building houses from the ground up?
Well, no, but he was able to get a contractor's license. I don't know how hard that is.
I think you just pay a fee or something.
Okay.
I don't think it's like an actual test.
I don't know about that. It may be. I mean, I think you have to know.
I think it may vary.
Compliancy standard,
Compliancy standards?
Yeah.
I think it may vary by state, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. He also became involved with Habitat for Humanity through his job at the high school, which was another excuse for getting this contracting license. Now, the lake house was supposed to be a project they did together, but Wesley overruled all of Jocelyn's decisions. She wasn't even allowed to choose the tile color for the bathrooms.
Even though she's financing the biggest part of it.
Pretty much. As Jocelyn usually relented on these things and kind of went along with her husband's demands, she started to grow resentful over time. Later, Jocelyn would reveal that she worried on her wedding day that she was making a huge mistake by marrying Wesley because it was not a match made in heaven. And so basically this whole time, she's just sort of sucking up all this shit from him. You know what I mean? She's not really happy with him, but she's sort of just going along with it. Well, and not saying anything.
It's one thing to have those feelings and then you kind of grow together and really, get to know each other and, it's good. You can kind of look back on that kind of like a funny moment. But could you imagine of having those kind of cold feet thoughts and you just see proof that you were right, that you should have been thinking like that the whole time as it gets worse and worse? I mean, that would suck.
Yeah.
And that doesn't surprise me that bitterness and resentment, which is the death of a relationship, no matter what grows it.
I'm glad you know that.
It's true. And, yeah, God, that would really suck. Man, could you imagine not being in a very harmonious, truly happy relationship? Because I can't.
You can't?
No, because that's what I have with you.
But you've been in a truly unharmonious relationship
Oh.
before you met me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've both been in, I think everybody's probably experienced being in a bad relationship.
Well, see, that, my brain doesn't even think about that. It's like literally blocked out. Seriously.
Well, it's just got to suck for her because she's like putting up with all this. I say she's like sucking shit because she's like putting up with all this crap and she's not really getting, like, she's not even able to choose a towel. Like, she's not getting anything out of this relationship, it seems like.
She's like the middle person in a human centipede.
Oh, God, she is. In the summer of 2002, the couple went on a camping trip out west with Wesley's brother Tyler and his wife. Jocelyn didn't really care for the younger Earnest brother and also suspected that he abused his wife. Now, on the trip, she encountered a yellow lab who was in, quote, bad shape. She ended up taking this dog back to Virginia, where she turned him into her loving pet, naming him Rowdy. She nursed him back to health. She also adopted another dog, a Labrador named Rufus, and she really loved these dogs, and it almost seems like they were kind of providing her with the love and nurture that she needed that she wasn't really getting from her husband.
Right.
Like, she was really turning to these animals for the emotional support. It was in 2003 that the couple prepared their wills, giving their possessions to each other. It was that year that Jocelyn had started standing up to Wesley. Wesley blamed Jennifer's influence and even suggested that Jennifer might have romantic feelings for his wife. Now, in the beginning, Wesley and Jennifer were friends.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you should be my fiance. You guys would be such good friends.
But now that they are good friends,
he's jealous.
he doesn't like it.
No, because he sees her, his wife, being able to count on someone else besides him, and he can't control that.
Wesley didn't want his wife to have any strong relationships outside the marriage, which is often a tactic of controlling partners. We know that. The Kearns relationship became strained with Wesley. During their summer trip to Ontario that year, the Kearns held a birthday party for their newest child, a little boy who had been born a year earlier. Wesley made it very clear that he was not happy with the celebration because it went against his beliefs.
Right.
Well, guess what, Wesley? Fuck off. How's that for you? Wesley also overstepped his bounds with their teenage daughter, Emily, scolding her for something that he had done. Well, Jennifer knew he did this, and he's blaming it on her daughter. So she intervened, and he grew angry and demanded an apology from Jennifer. Jennifer's like, I'm not apologizing to you. You lied. You did this. You lied. You're blaming it on my daughter. I'm not apologizing to you.
Dude, he's a classic narcissist.
Yeah.
Right? When they get called out or caught in their lies, the first thing they do is they get angry and play the victim.
Well, I'm also like, what adult is going to blame something they did on a kid? I mean, what are you doing, dude?
I couldn't even imagine thinking like that.
Wesley told his wife to pack their things up. They were leaving.
Yeah, that'll show them.
The couple drove 13 and a half hours back to Virginia, this nonstop drive. Now, after that, he did not want his wife hanging out with Jennifer, and even went as far as like forbidding the friendship. You are forbidden to hang out with her. Jocelyn ignored him. She began expressing her problems in the marriage more openly with her friend Jennifer. Their marriage basically was an endless source of conflict, according to Jocelyn, especially when it came to the lake house. Now, at this point, Wesley wanted to move into this partially finished house so that they could work on it in the evenings after work.
Yeah, totally. I want to spend more time with you.
Jocelyn did not want to do this. I mean, she's like, it adds more time to my commute if I move there. It's like an extra 30 minutes or more. You know, it's a really long drive for me. She's also like, I don't want to do construction after a long day of working. And she worked a lot of overtime and long hours. So she's like, the last thing I want to do in the evenings is like come home and, do demolition work in a house or hang drywall.
Yeah, no, that sounds... something.
Most people don't want to do that.
Well, look, so to do something like that, you have to really be into it. It has to be your thing. You have to be excited about it. And forcing someone to do that. And you know,
You will build this subfloor, Dylan.
building a home or renovating a home, that in of itself can stress a relationship.
Dude, I've known people who went to renovate a house and ended up breaking up over it.
Right. And it's arguing over every single thing.
Yeah.
Nobody can agree. One's maybe into it more than the other and makes it, you know, that's all they talk about. I mean, it can really strain a relationship.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I knew a couple that bought a house together, started renovating it, and within like a few months, they were broken up. And then they're in like this legal battle over who's buying who out for the house. What's, you know.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was a mess. Yeah. Well, Wesley borrowed $100,000 from his dad to buy another house in their neighborhood. So at this point, they're going to have like 3 houses.
Okay.
Like the house they live in, this lake house they're building, and then he wants to buy this third house. Well, he invites his brother Tyler to live in this third house, but then ends up renting it to someone else. So his brother Tyler moved in with Wesley and Jocelyn. Now, she saw this as a manipulation tactic by her husband, that this would pressure her to move into the lake house because he knew she didn't really care for his brother.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, being stuck in this house with him would force her to rethink moving to the lake house.
Now, did he state his reasoning for buying this third house? Is it an investment or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he thought of it as a rental property and they would be able to earn money to pay for this lake house.
Okay.
That's very expensive that they're building. Yeah.
That he's building.
Well, yeah. So by spring of 2004, Wesley was spending more time away from their marital home. Jocelyn didn't want to be around his brother, so she practically lived at the Kearns house. She only showered and slept at her home. During this time, Wesley told his wife that spending time around his brother Tyler had made him remember sexual abuse, like at the hands of his brother.
Oh, gosh.
He said he'd been in therapy to deal with it, and that was one of the reasons why he had been spending time away from home.
So that's you didn't remember this sexual abuse when you invited your brother to live in the house with you and your wife?
He did not.
Ah.
It's only after the brother moved in that he remembered it.
Repressed memories.
Wesley also told his wife that he was spending nights at the lake house or in his office at the high school because, you know, at this point, he just can't bear to be around his brother who abused him.
Tell your brother to get out of our house. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I mean, that makes sense to me, right? Is just tell him to leave?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that he is doing these things to disrupt Jocelyn's, happy space.
Well, eventually she realizes that Wesley had lied about the sexual abuse altogether. When he finally kind of returned back to the house, he seemed more obsessed with money than ever. Tyler ended up moving back to the West Coast, and that's when Wesley changed his mailing address to the lake house. So he's like, come home for a period, but then now he's forwarded all the mail to the other house. Now, Dylan, I'm going to give you a guess here. I'm going to let you participate in a fun game.
Okay.
For what reason do you think that Wesley is absent from his marital home and is sort of exhibiting this erratic behavior?
Oh, is it because he's planning a really big surprise or event for his wife to remind her how much he truly loves her?
That's a nice thought, but he'd actually met someone else.
Ah, that was my second thought.
He met Shamika Wright, a former police officer who now worked at Big Lots. The two started dating, and if people don't know what Big Lots is, it's a retail store.
Yeah, it's like a discount retail store, kind of.
Yeah, it seems like they maybe get like some closeout type stuff there.
I like Big Lots.
Because you never really know what they're going to have, Yeah. Well, the two started dating, and by summer, he was taking her to like a well-known spa retreat in Virginia. By fall, the lovers had taken multiple trips to places like the New River Gorge in West Virginia. Virginia Beach. They'd gone to Knoxville, Tennessee together. In early 2005, he took Shamika to Florida. They went to Chapel Hill to watch a basketball game. They went to Charleston, the Great Smoky Mountains, and attended a Dave Matthews Band show in Virginia Beach. Once more.
Virginia truly is for lovers.
That's what they say.
Dude, I mean...
For lovers, as I say, it's for lovers who can't afford to go someplace nice.
We like Virginia's
Womp
beautiful.
womp.
That's not even funny.
It is funny.
No, but so I just don't get how you're spending this much time away from your husband and how he's spending, because this stuff costs money that he's doing, you know. It's just weird to me to spend that much time away from your wife with someone else.
Well, living separate lives.
Yeah.
He's living elsewhere, has this whole other relationship that his wife doesn't even know about or doesn't seem to suspect.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something else,
You
bro.
got to be diabolical to do something to that extent, especially.
Well, it's like those people who have two families.
I've never understood that. It's always boggled my mind to even consider that.
Well, we know it's because you're too lazy to have two families.
Well,
You have a hard enough time like maintaining one relationship.
well, that's not true. If I wanted to, I could have two families.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, I could have two couches where I sit and watch TV.
You could have two families that you neglect.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
See, I mean, that's not that hard to do.
Well, that's true. When they both got
Well, I don't neglect you.
Are you sure?
Oh my God, baby, have I told you about our Lord and Savior?
Please get away from me.
I'm religious now.
Even when they both got new jobs, Shamika and Wesley, they both take on new jobs. Their relationship goes long distance.
Oh, okay.
So even time and miles can't keep them away from each other, Dylan.
Gosh, if only he cared for his wife this much.
They still are continuing this affair. Wesley took a job in the Tidewater area of Virginia, nearly like across the state, while Shamika went to Concord, Virginia, but they managed to spend weekends at the lake house together. The lake house that he owns with his wife. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Jocelyn was in the dark about her husband's affair until she started noticing things at the lake house when she would visit.
Yeah, like Shamika. Like, who is it? What is that?
This woman's in my bed. Well, things like unfamiliar hair in the bed and bathtub.
That'll do it.
Okay. No, this is a good one. He's really thought about this. Wesley told her he had hired a very poor cleaning lady who needed money, that she was ugly and overweight, and that Jocelyn had nothing to worry about.
And she shed a lot.
She sheds a lot.
I mean, that's pretty smart if you think about it, because that explains her hair being all over the house. Because now, is he saying she's economically poor, or she's just not a good cleaning lady?
No, that she's economically poor. That's why he's paying her. She needed money, so he hired her to pay that.
But she doesn't
to clean the house.
She doesn't. She actually like reverse cleans. She just makes.
Leaves a trail of hair everywhere she goes.
She's got alopecia and shit, bro.
What is she, cousin It? I mean,
Okay, what else?
well, at this point, Jocelyn expresses suspicions that her husband is having an affair. Like, she confides this in her friend Jennifer. Jennifer agrees. Like, yeah, this all sounds like an affair.
No, or
He's
just
not living at home with you. He moved across the state, took a different job.
Yeah, y'all hardly see each other. Or he's very, very bad at vetting cleaning ladies.
Yes.
It's one or the other.
And Jennifer tells her friend, I think Wesley has been unfaithful for a while. Like, I've thought this for a minute. I didn't want to be the one to say anything
Right.
about it. Yeah. Because we know people always get mad at the messenger. Jocelyn and Jennifer started running surveillance. Hell hath no fury like a woman who suspects her man is cheating and her best friend who's like the ride or die, riding shotgun, like, we're going to do this shit.
Oh, man. They're going to go hard.
They are, yeah. They're unstoppable. It's an unstoppable force. They tracked Wesley down at Shamika's parents' house. Now, Jocelyn wants to believe that her husband is telling the truth.
That this is the cleaning
that
lady.
He's not cheating, that he loves her, all the things she wants to believe. Well, at her sister's suggestion, Jocelyn begins writing everything down. Her sister Laura was like, look, you've got to start documenting like everything that happens, just in case, which is smart.
It is smart.
Wesley told his wife, quote, I just need a little space. I'm on a new medication and the old one was bad.
Man, I saw this TikTok video. This woman like knocks on a door and she's like, and the people are like, yeah, can I help you? And she's like, is my husband here? And they're like, your husband? Her husband was in the house with some other chick at that other chick's parents' house, bro. And she like walks in there and smacks him. You should have seen a look on dude's face. And she smacks him in the face. And she's like, she's sending nude pictures to my husband. And like storms out of the house, filming it all.
Okay.
Ah, dude.
It's okay. Now, on the other hand, I know someone who's been very close to me in my life, who suspected her husband was cheating. She knows this person's, like the woman's name. That's all she knows. And starts like looking her up online, finds an address, goes to this address to confront
The woman.
And it's like a little old lady who lives there. And the person's like confronting the little old lady. And the old lady's like, what are you talking about? Like, I've lived in this house for like 5 years. So it was like obviously an old address or it was wrong.
Oh, God.
Now the person who thinks her husband's cheating is sort of like fighting or arguing with this old lady. Like, I know she's in there. You're hiding her. You're trying to cover for her. And this old lady is like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. If you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops.
Damn, dude. That's messed up.
You know who that person was?
Who?
My crazy ass mama.
For real?
Yeah.
Damn.
Dude, when she thought her husband was, I could tell you stories.
We're going to have an episode where you just tell us all the tea.
Dude, if I told you all the shit my crazy ass mama has done over the years, people wouldn't even believe it. They would be like, there's no fucking way anybody out there is that insane.
Oh, I have crazy ex stories. They're similar to that.
I know, right?
Yeah. We're going to write a book.
Narcissistic personality disorders or something fun. All right. There you go, Mom. Put you on blast. Doesn't matter. I'm sure she's not listening.
Yeah, she's not listening. But if she does, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We appreciate our listeners.
I called you out, ho. It was on July 4th of 2005 that Laura came to visit Jocelyn. They drove to the lake house, and guess what? They see Wesley and Shamika on the deck celebrating. They're dancing. They're embracing. It's the 4th of July. They're like getting all romantic on the deck.
Oh, my God. And see, Jocelyn doesn't want to admit it. And she's like, almost for some reason, I think people do this for their own self.
It's self-preservation because it hurts so badly.
You don't want to admit it to yourself.
When you are deceived by someone that you love and that you think loves you back.
But her bestie has been over Wesley for a while now. And she totally wants to catch him so she can prove it to Jocelyn that he is a piece of shit and she should get away from him.
And it sounds like Jocelyn's sister is also like,
right,
bro, sis, he's a piece of shit. So that summer, Jocelyn had not planned to go to the Kearns cabin. But after this, she decides, I'm going to go last minute. And although they were living separate lives in different homes, Wesley had obviously moved on romantically, but he did not want his wife to do the same. He would send these flirty emails to Jocelyn, leading her on. With each communication, she would kind of get her hopes up and then they would crash again. So she was on this total like emotional roller coaster with her husband.
Again, classic narcissist behavior.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer told her, once they get to the cabin, they're talking more about it. Jennifer's like, look, he's keeping tabs on you because he's a control freak. You need to end this marriage. Like, you need to do something. You need to make something happen here. Like, it's obvious he's cheating on you. But she's still like, even though she knows it and she's seeing it, she still doesn't want to believe it.
Damn.
So she's ignoring advice of all her family and friends. She takes no steps to end this marriage, even though everybody's telling her, girl, you need to take steps. Now, Jocelyn started going to counseling. On July 13th of 2005, she wrote in her journal, quote, "If I'm ever found dead, my killer is my cheating husband. Know that he killed me. I would never kill myself."
Okay.
In Chesapeake, Virginia, Wesley rented a room from a couple. Problems soon began. He would curse at the homeowner if she mentioned that he had left the front door open or unlocked. Wesley would go ballistic and start screaming at this woman. He threatened to break her hand by slamming it in the door. I mean, what the fuck? He's renting a room in these people's house and then he's acting like a madman?
That's crazy.
In November of 2005, Wesley overheard this couple, the homeowners, the husband and wife, kind of arguing. He later told the man, Neil Phillips, quote, "Bitches like my wife and your wife should be dead."
Damn, dude.
Now, with that comment, Neil Phillips wrote an eviction notice.
Yeah, he was.
So he's like, who are you to talk about my wife? What are you, no. And so he writes an eviction notice. Wesley moves out without paying rent and left the room absolutely trashed. By summer of 2005, Jocelyn had started this new fitness regimen. She was spending a lot of time with her coworker, a woman named Marcy. They were walking up to 3 miles a day. They had dinner together, and they really enjoyed each other's company. But it did not take long for Marcy to fall madly in love with Jocelyn. Both were married and agreed it was not a good idea to pursue a physical relationship with one another.
Wow.
Jocelyn hired a private investigator who sent her reports of Wesley's affair with Shamika. Jocelyn seemed to kind of be sinking deeper into depression. She knew there was no hope for the marriage, but she still didn't want it to end. The final straw came when Jennifer and Jocelyn drove to the lake house. They caught Wesley and Shamika red-handed in bed, having the sexes.
She still doesn't want to admit.
Jocelyn confronted him. She screams "Enjoy, motherfucker," and leaves. Very dramatic scene. Now, as they drive away, Jennifer is making notes of the time and date. Again, she's on board with you need to make sure you're documenting all of this. Jocelyn filed divorce paperwork in June of 2006, citing Wesley's ongoing affair with Shamika Wright as a catalyst. She also listed cruelty, abandonment, and separation in excess of 1 year. Wesley called the statements preposterous and had his attorney file a counterclaim.
Of course he did.
It's just my cleaning lady.
She's very thorough.
She was cleaning my
junk.
Dick with her vagina.
Yeah.
That's all that was happening.
Yeah, it's like a squeegee in there.
She had a sponge up in there.
It's like a sham wow. You just wring it out and go back at it, bro.
Oh. Sham wow.
Yeah.
The divorce was turning very ugly. I think we all knew that was coming, that once she filed for divorce, it was not going to be amicable. It was not going to go well.
No, of course not. He's going to be a total dick, just like he wants to move on with his life in every way he sees fit, but doesn't want her to. He's just a total asshole.
The divorce, as I mentioned, it's turning very ugly. Wesley demanded the lake house and asked her to put up $100,000 into an account so he could pay a loan that he'd taken out for this lake house.
Okay.
Jocelyn refused to speak to Wesley and only communicated through lawyers. She changed the locks on the house, installed a security system. In November, she returned home to find the house quite different, as if someone had broken in. There were things taken like a bike, camera, financial records, a shotgun from the home. The heat was turned off, and someone had cut water pipes to the pool heater. Her personal items like diplomas, gifts, and family photos had also been taken, and she suspected Wesley had done this. Now, at that point, Jocelyn becomes afraid of her husband. She rented a truck, loaded up her things from the lake house, including some of Wesley's personal belongings because she thought they might be able to use, maybe she might be able to use these as like a bargaining chip to get her stuff returned.
Gosh, man, it's terrible when people get petty like this. Or I'm not saying she's being petty, but, he's kind of causing her to, play his same game.
Now, when they finally go before a judge, the judge rules against Wesley's request for spousal support and established use of the two houses in question. So, like, he gets the lake house, he can reside there, and she can reside in, like, the marital home. Jocelyn has to pay 25% of the mortgage on the lake house. But this meant that Wesley's income would be stretched very thin.
Well, yeah. Because she's been financing the bulk of all this mess.
In February of 2007, Jocelyn called Jennifer scared. She said Wesley was outside the house. He had tried the doorknob and had gone around the home, like trying to find a way in the house. And she thought, he's going to break in. Jennifer was like, you need to call the cops. Jocelyn didn't want to do that. Jennifer drove to the house and confronted Wesley. He said he was merely there to talk and settle things without lawyers because lawyers are expensive. Jennifer tells him, like, you need to leave. Jocelyn does not want to speak to you. Like, do not come back to this house. Stay away. Stay the fuck away from my friend.
But Jennifer's right. She should have called the cops because she's this is not okay what he's doing. And if you let someone like that get away with it, they will just only get worse.
The divorce proceedings left Wesley in a financially strained situation. Selling the lake house was the only option. But Wesley did not want to sell it quickly for fear they would lose money. He wanted to wait until the market improved. Okay, because if you remember, we all know what happened in 2007, 2008. There was the housing bubble. A big recession followed.
Yeah.
Tons of foreclosures. The real estate market tanked. So he knows if we put the house on the market now, like, we're not really going to get what we should out of this house.
Well, see, you're not in a position to wait for a favorable
that's the
market.
Thing.
Yeah.
Because the market is not going to improve for several years.
No, it's going to take a long time. You can't afford your part of the payment now. And you just get out from under it and move on.
I mean, I worked in real estate at this time. And I saw firsthand what was going on. And yeah, I'm like, bud, you're not going to be able to sell this house for a while. Those luxury properties.
Right. They even took even longer to come back.
I was like, they were the last to sell. Those houses sat on the market for years. Wesley met with a realtor authorizing that the realtor could sell the home for $2,150,000. So $2.1 million.
Okay, firm.
That's it. I'm not taking anything lower than that. In 2008, 2007 market, good luck with that. Now, once the divorce had been filed, Jocelyn seemed to make strides. She traveled with her sister. She began playing volleyball again. She was spending time with her friends and coworkers. On Monday, December 17th of 2007, Wesley asked to borrow his friend David Hall's truck to move some furniture. The next day, Wesley applied for a position with the University of Alaska. Now, on Wednesday, December 19th, Jocelyn had made plans to get together with her friend Marcy. She had seen her Sunday, and they agreed they would hang out on Wednesday. The two had exchanged text messages. Marcy heard from Jocelyn on Wednesday evening. Jocelyn had gone to eat, I think, with some of her coworkers at Logan's Roadhouse.
Okay.
So after dinner, she was supposed to get up with Marcy. But then the text just stopped. Marcy didn't think much of it at first, thinking, okay, well, maybe she's on the phone. She could be talking to her sister. She's getting a shower. Something came up. But after a while, some hours, she begins to worry. She's like, well, maybe we're not going to hang out at all because it's getting later and later. I haven't heard from her. With hours passing and no word from Jocelyn, Marcy became concerned. She even drove by Jocelyn's house and saw that her car was parked in the driveway. But again, she's not answering her phone, not answering text messages.
That'd be so weird.
The next morning, well, at this point, she's trying to play it off like, well, maybe she went somewhere, like maybe she went with Jennifer. Jennifer drove.
Okay.
Right? Like maybe she went somewhere, left her car at home. All the things we try to tell ourselves, to explain away odd things. Well, the next morning, Marcy texts Jocelyn that she was really worried about her. Please call. It had been hours since she'd heard from her friend. Marcy's co-workers had also not seen Jocelyn. So by 10 a.m., everyone at work is expecting her, but she's still not called in and she hasn't shown up, which is not like her at all.
Yeah, I was going to say that's likely out of character for her.
Well, yeah, and I guess Marcy and Jocelyn work together, but like in different departments. So Marcy's reaching out to Jocelyn's office. No one's seen her. With escalating anxiety, Marcy finally decided she was going to visit Jocelyn's house again. This was around 11:30 a.m. on Thursday. Marcy called another friend, Mesa, who knew the passcode to the security system. Then Marcy remembered Jocelyn had kept a spare key, so she found the gate unlocked. She went around to the backyard, located the spare key in an outbuilding, and went around to the front door. Now, the whole time she's still on the phone with Mesa. It was like, they're like, the three of them are really good friends. The key didn't work on the front door. Marcy goes around back, and finally she's able to get inside the house. When the door opens, Marcy was hit with a blast of heat. It was so hot, it fogged her glasses.
Damn.
It was like 100 degrees in the house. I mean, like so hot. She's calling out for her friend. She's looking for Jocelyn. And that's when she sees a body lying on the floor. It's Jocelyn. She tells Mesa, you need to call 911 right now. Mesa's like, no, you need to call one. You're in the house. You call 911, right?
Yeah.
Mesa's like, I'm on my way over. Jocelyn was dressed as if she had just walked in the door. She had on a pair of jeans, a sweater, and her winter coat. She was lying flat on her back on the floor. She appeared stiff and unnatural. Her legs were kind of sticking straight out. A pool of blood surrounded Jocelyn's head and had settled into the blue carpet. There were also streaks across the floor as if she had been moved. When Marcy kneeled down, she spotted a gun. It was obvious that Jocelyn at that point was too far gone for CPR. Her friend was dead. Marcy's now on the phone with 911. They're asking her, like, is she breathing? Do you feel a pulse?
Damn.
Can you perform CPR? And she's like, look, her lips are blue. Her face is blue.
Yeah.
She's cold. She's stiff.
Dude, it'd be so terrible to find your friend like that.
Marcy is shaking. And immediately, thoughts of Jocelyn's estranged husband hit her like a ton of bricks. Marcy found Rufus the dog in his kennel. It was unlike Jocelyn to leave her dog locked up for extended period of time without water. And also with the heat turned up so high in the house. That seemed very odd to Marcy. Yeah,
because no one under normal circumstances is going to be comfortable in a house that warm.
Well, as much as Jocelyn loved her dog, she's like, she's not going to leave her dog in a kennel with the heat turned up, no water. Like, that's really cruel. She would not do that. Bedford County deputies were first to arrive on the scene on Thursday, December 20th. EMS determined she had no vital signs, and of course the scene was secured by law enforcement. When an investigator arrived, a note was located between the door and the body. It was folded into quarters at some point because it still had the creases, like when you fold up a piece of paper, right? The note read, Mom, I just can't take it anymore. I've tried so hard to be strong, but I can't continue. The ups and downs are too much to deal with. I keep trying to appear as though I'm doing fine, but the days are so overwhelming and lonely. My new love will never leave the family. Wes has buried us in debt, and starting over is too much. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Okay.
Now, detectives are immediately suspicious of this note. To begin with, it was typed and didn't bear a signature, which was unusual for a suicide, and the tone was impersonal. Like, the main detective had dealt with other suicides before, and he's like, they're usually handwritten, signed.
Most people don't print out their suicide note on a printer or type it.
Well, not typically. When friends were interviewed, they all mentioned Wesley Earnest. They said Jocelyn was happy. She was looking forward to Christmas, had made plans to see her family. She had bought a ton of presents. She was like, that was all she talked about, was how she was so excited about Christmas. Forensics went to work. A .357 caliber was found lying next to the body. They found an assortment of ammunition in the basement, but none matched the gun. They found journals handwritten by Jocelyn, which again reinforced the question, like, why a woman who took time to fill notebooks, like handwritten journals, why would she type a suicide note, like her final words?
Right.
The pattern of blood stain on her face, the way her hair stretched and kind of pinned under her head, and a streak of blood across the floor indicated the body had likely been dragged a couple of feet after she had been shot. It was, they were like, well, if she had killed herself, she would have just fallen and she wouldn't have landed the way she was positioned. Again, with like her legs straight out.
No, it's an unnatural position. Even if you shoot yourself,
well,
you're likely not going to fall perfectly straight.
Well, right. And there was even the idea of like, did she shoot herself and then crawl across the floor a few feet before she died? But again, it's a very strange position she's in. If that were the case, she would probably be a little more like disheveled or crumpled
a little more
up.
Animated.
Well, no, she's dead. She's not going to be animated.
Well, you know, like in a pose.
Okay.
Like you're crawling, you know what I'm saying? Like you're crawling one leg up, you know, like you're one knee up, or like you're in the.
She's just not going to die perfectly in a straight line.
It's just an unnatural position that
Okay.
you're never going to land in.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? She isn't inanimate now.
You're animated, Dylan.
I knew when I said animated that you weren't going to get what I meant.
Well, no.
Because
it's okay. Okay. You're like the suicide note. You're worded very oddly.
Yeah.
When an autopsy was conducted, it showed the shot had entered into the back of Jocelyn's head and exited the front.
Which is common in suicides.
When detectives informed Wesley that his wife had died, he was nonchalant. He never even asked, like, how did she die? This was strange.
That's usually people's first question if they were not present when they died.
Also, when detectives asked, can we meet? He put them off like, well, I'm really tired right now. We'll have to be tomorrow. Most people would be more concerned. Like, yes, I will meet you now, right? The autopsy showed the bullet had traversed the right back portion of the brain, causing unconsciousness, cut across the brainstem, causing instant death, and a total loss of voluntary and involuntary movement. She couldn't have dragged her body after shooting herself. It was impossible because she died instantly.
So there's no way she could have moved or even twitched after the shot.
Right. When Wesley spoke to investigators the next day, he offered up that he'd been working on Wednesday. He hadn't felt well because of seasonal allergies and had gone home after work to rest. He didn't go anywhere that night and didn't speak to anyone. So in other words, Wesley had no solid alibi or no one to back up his alibi. Wesley described Jocelyn as being, quote, a wonderful woman and admitted that he had hurt her. When asked about the affair, Wesley said Jocelyn had encouraged him to, quote, go out with other women. That contradicted what everyone else, including the divorce papers, cited. Infidelity had caused the marriage to end.
Yeah, that doesn't add up.
No. Wesley blamed his brother Tyler as being the catalyst for the divorce. Of all the friends and family members interviewed, Wesley was the only person to describe Jocelyn as being depressed and believing that she had taken her own life. No one else felt Jocelyn was capable or showed any signs of suicidal thoughts because actually in the last few months she had been thriving. She had kind of made a complete turnaround, was exploring, kind of new parts of herself, traveling, going out with friends.
And it's not impossible for friends and family to not realize that you are as depressed or you may be in trouble, but there's usually some kind of signs. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm also just wondering, Dylan, who leaves, and we'll probably talk about this more, but who leaves a restaurant, goes home, is still in their winter coat, and just shoots themselves at the front door?
Yeah. That doesn't sound right.
Wesley says the .357 was purchased for Jocelyn as protection. He agreed to provide DNA and fingerprints, but when they mentioned a polygraph, that's when he was like, well, I don't think so. When asked about vehicles, Wesley appeared a bit rattled. He explained that the Silverado he was driving that day belonged to a friend. Jocelyn's friends insisted they did not move the body before officers arrived. But it did pique officers' interest when they learned that Marcy had driven by the house the night before. And when they asked about this, quote, new love and the suicide note, Marcy admitted she was the love in Jocelyn's life.
Oh.
She explained they had strong feelings for one another, but that it had not gotten physical. The relationship was on an emotional level. There was no sexual intimacy between the two. They had agreed to be friends, but that they did have these romantic feelings for each other. Detectives didn't rule out the possibility that Marcy may have been involved in Jocelyn's death. In the journals they found in the house, they learned about Jocelyn's growing fear of Wesley. She called him, quote, her cheating husband, and again, she said if she was ever found dead, he did it. Quote, no, he killed me because I would never kill myself. My guess is he shot me, then shot himself.
Oh, so she was afraid of possible murder-suicide.
The style and wording in the journals were inconsistent with the suicide note. They also found this odd timeline of Jocelyn's last 11 years. It was handwritten, but there were two different styles of handwriting, showing that entries were authored by more than one person. Some entries were in like blue and black pen and others in red. And the ones that were written in red that did not seem to match Jocelyn's handwriting were all very positive statements about Wesley.
Oh my God. What a dumbass.
These red pen entries also blamed Jocelyn for all the problems in the marriage, saying like, I'm the issue. I'm accepting responsibility for the end of my marriage. It's all my fault.
So
It's not my husband's fault. It's my fault.
On one page, if I'm found dead, my husband killed me. I'm scared of him. He's a monster. And then it's like a P.S. By the way, Wesley's a pretty good guy, actually, and I'm responsible for all the problems in our marriage.
Yeah, I mean,
in red ink.
Well, they determined like these notes did not appear to be written by Jocelyn at all. The handwriting doesn't match, and they are like, she didn't write this. These added entries and this like weird timeline we do not think she wrote this. Suspicions of Marcy were quickly diminished as investigators focused entirely on Wesley Earnest. Wesley insisted on retaining Jocelyn's body. He even went to the funeral home and demanded that the body be turned over to him because he was her husband. He wanted to cremate Jocelyn and, quote, put her in a simple urn.
But they had divorced, right?
Well, they were
in the process of
about
divorcing?
to divorce.
Oh, okay.
Jocelyn's family wanted the body sent to West Virginia to be buried. They ended up getting an attorney and like kind of sending a note to Wesley like, we'll go to court over this body issue. And that's when he backed down. Into the new year, questions still lingered about her death. Though there were 2 printers in the house, neither one worked. Detectives wondered where she had printed the suicide note.
Staples.
No draft of the note could be found on her computer. The gun that killed Jocelyn was registered to Wesley. The bloodstain analysis provided proof that she had been moved at least 2 feet after death. No fingerprints were found on the shell casings of the Smith & Wesson 357 or on the gun. However, prints were found on the suicide note. They did not match Jocelyn. They matched Wesley.
Oh, just stop right there, dude. I mean, it's over. I mean, how much more evidence do they need?
Now, in the meanwhile, Wesley had returned that borrowed truck to his friend David Hall, and he apologized about a small bleach stain on the floor mat, saying that he must have, spilled something when he was cleaning the truck for his friend.
Yeah.
Now, on Thursday morning, which was the day they found Jocelyn's body, Wesley paid someone to clean his Honda. He paid $120 in cash to have the car detailed. The man who cleaned it described it as the dirtiest car he had ever cleaned.
God, that's a bold statement from a detailer.
Well, and it also was interesting to police that he went to great lengths to clean his friend's truck, but that his own vehicle was, like, disgusting.
Yeah.
And had, like, mold growing in it. Now, another strange thing was that Wesley had replaced all 4 tires on the truck on January 10th of 2008.
Of his friend's truck?
He went back and borrowed the truck. And this is what, like 2 weeks after his wife is found dead. He borrows the truck again, replaces all 4 tires. Now, the tires were not worn at all, so David didn't quite understand, like, why'd you do this? Wesley said he had blown out 2 tires while using the truck. When Wesley got new tires at Kramer Tire in Virginia Beach, he gave the name Tom Dunbar to staff. He paid $688 cash for new tires. David was unhappy because he had put these expensive all-terrain radials on the truck earlier that year, or, earlier, I guess, in 2007. And these were really cheap Dunlop tires.
What the fuck?
That Wesley had replaced onto the truck, and his truck was riding very poorly, so he's like, what did you do? Like, I preferred the expensive tires I had put on my truck.
I preferred the tires that I put on my truck when I got tires for my truck. That's so weird.
Well, I guess maybe if you were a murder suspect and did this, you were afraid there were tire tracks or something?
Well, I'm sure something to that degree, because he thinks he's one of those people, one of those
He's so
dumbass
smart.
narcissists. He's so dumb, but this plan is garbage,
He's
dude.
such a shitbird.
It's not a good plan at all.
Now, in February of 2008, Wesley was finally arrested for Jocelyn's murder. With a search warrant, they were able to search the lake house and Shamika's home in Campbell County. The case for the .357 gun was found in Shamika's house.
Of course it was.
Now, even though it's supposed to be Jocelyn's gun for protection, like, why would the case be at Shamika's house?
At his girlfriend's house.
Detectives learned from coworkers that Wesley had told people he was very wealthy, that he was worth $5 million, and didn't actually need to work. But his finances proved he was actually $1 million in debt.
I was like, damn.
And was falling behind on his bills. With access to his financial documents, they could see that even with Jocelyn's help, he was still responsible for $6,000 a month mortgage on the lake house, that Wesley was being hounded by bill collectors. Shamika was paying off some of his loans and bills. They found documents he had written for his attorney stating how many hours Jocelyn was working, overtime that she was working, like during holidays, and how much time she had spent working on special projects. So he's like trying to show his lawyer, or, to prove in court, like, she's working 80 hours a week and therefore I'm entitled to some of that money.
Right. He wants Wesley's support.
He does.
God, what a bitch.
A murder indictment was handed down on May 6th of 2008 after a grand jury heard the evidence. The trial was set for July, but no one expected it to begin that quickly. It ended up being June of 2009 when Wesley went to trial. Now, interestingly enough, Dylan, on March 20th of 2009, the beloved lake house caught fire.
Oh, no.
Wesley had just received a recent foreclosure notice on the home. He still owed $990,000 on it. The insurance was scheduled to expire in July, and he had not renewed the policy. Wesley was the only person who would benefit from this house fire. The insurance company, despite heavy suspicions, paid out $1 million, which left Wesley with about $100,000 after he paid, the house loan.
I can't believe they paid it.
No one was ever charged with what experts deemed arson. So I'm surprised that they paid it out as well. I don't understand. Wesley's defense tried to paint a third party as being guilty. Now, this is their strategy. They focused on the two friends, Marcy and Mesa, who had been kind of first on the scene. Mesa was in trouble at this time for an identity theft scheme at their job. Like, she had been using, clients' social security numbers with his insurance to pull off some kind of financial fraud type of thing. So the defense tried to say that Jocelyn knew about this and was taken out so she couldn't testify against her friend Mesa. Or the other thought was that Marcy had killed her in some jealous lesbian rage.
Okay. Is that different than regular rage?
there's, you got to watch out for the jealous lesbian rage, I suppose.
Yeah.
A forensic expert testified that someone had wiped out Jocelyn's BlackBerry at the time of the murder, so he was unable to obtain any information. And why would someone who's committing suicide wipe out their BlackBerry before doing that?
Okay.
It's odd, right?
Yeah.
There was mounting evidence, including the fingerprints against Wesley. Shamika testified that on Wednesday, the night of the murder, she had been unable to reach Wesley and had not heard from him. She had repeatedly called, texted him, had gotten no replies.
Shamika is not ride or die. She's like,
His excuse had been, well, there's spotty cell service in Chesapeake. Oh, well, at this point, I think Shamika might have had her own issues with Wesley, because when he was in jail, they did a medical exam and determined that he had herpes.
Oh, wow.
And some other STD, and that he had not informed. And I guess law enforcement felt like they should tell her.
Yeah.
Detectives were like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but...
I'm sure they made sure to tell
They
her.
did, and so it seems like maybe he had not shared that information with her.
Oh, wow, the guy you were adultering with is a liar and untrustworthy.
Yes.
Big surprise.
And has given you an STD and didn't tell you about it.
Yeah.
He took the stand in his own defense at this trial. He painted Jocelyn as a sexually frigid person who told him to sleep with other women. He fell in love with Shamika to fill the void in his heart caused by Jocelyn's icy nature. He insisted the firearm was purchased for Jocelyn's safety and that she had killed herself, and that he firmly believed she had taken her own life. Evidence showed that Jocelyn had paid a bill at 7:18 on Wednesday night at Logan's Roadhouse. She had deactivated the house alarm at 7:38. By this timeline, they, were like, there is sufficient time for her to leave the restaurant and return home and shut off this alarm by herself. And my question is, who, after eating a juicy steak, decides to go home and shoot themselves?
Right.
I mean, is this like a last meal? Or was the meal so bad she was like, this is the worst meal I've ever had. I must take myself out.
Well, I guess that's one option.
0 stars, do not recommend. Now, the medical examiner also discussed how it would have been kind of awkward and unlikely for someone to kill themselves with this gun to the rear of the head for a suicide.
That's an unnatural position always.
That it was very strange.
It's also typically not the way women commit suicide.
So after 9 days, 50 witnesses, and hundreds of pieces of evidence, it only took the jury 6 hours to deliberate. Wesley was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was given life in prison with a $100,000 fine and 3 more years in prison for a firearms charge. Because I guess in the state of Virginia, if you use a firearm to commit a murder, you get extra time.
Yeah, it's like what they call that, mitigating factor or something like that.
Jocelyn's family ended up suing Wesley over the insurance payout from the fire. He used that insurance money to pay for attorneys, and they argued that his legal firm knew Jocelyn's relatives had claim on the money because it was shared property between them, and that they accepted this payment from Wesley knowing that legally her relatives had claim to it.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what ended up happening in that case. Now, Wesley appealed and was granted a new trial, which began November 8th of 2010. It was basically the same information.
I wonder what they granted him an appeal for.
I'm not sure. Like, I didn't see that in my research.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I was just curious in my own mind.
Well, this time, the defense, the judge pretty much squashed the defense's being able to try to like blame the friends.
Okay.
And we're like, you have to come up with some new angle.
Because you're not presenting any evidence. You're just kind of throwing it out there. I'm
So
guessing.
they were trying to present that she had we're going to present she's committed suicide, but then they really didn't have any new thing to back that up.
Right.
I mean, it seemed to me like a fucking waste of trial. I don't know what they were doing. Well, anyway, the second trial, it only took jurors 4 hours to come back with a guilty verdict. So he's serving a life sentence at Sussex State Prison in Waverly, Virginia.
Damn. What a piece of shit.
What a piece of shit.
He's a big old shitbird.
He is a big old shitbird. I told you in the beginning, like, this is a shitbird.
He's a big old greedy shitbird.
He just sounds like such an asshole.
He does. Sounds like a total asshole.
And I mean, with this strict religious belief,
oh, God.
should he be running around having an affair?
Look, dude.
Or multiple affairs?
I can't celebrate Christmas, but I can cheat.
I can celebrate I can't celebrate a birthday, but I can surely bring you an STD.
Hey, that christening's the devil's work, but I'm a cheater. Spreading the herps around to everybody.
I mean, geez.
Which is like, why didn't you just go on with your life? You know what I'm saying? Figure the stupid lake house out, sell it, get out from under it. Okay, this didn't work. And you've met someone you seem to be happier with than, you have either ever was or have been for a very long time with your wife, and go on with your life. I just don't understand people like this.
Well, I just don't understand either this Shamika having this long-term affair with him and then finding out like his wife doesn't know and he's still married and hasn't known this whole time and still continues to be with him.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what do you think? He's not going to cheat on you too?
Well, I've never understood people that do that either.
And only turning on him like...
After it was something that hurt you.
Well, like he did this to me and the gun's in my house. So I don't want to be considered, like...
I just don't get it.
A co-conspirator or something like that.
I don't know how you could...
But it also makes me wonder if she was, because she did have a law enforcement background.
Right.
Oh, and I found out the reason why Shamika was fired from being a cop is that while she was in uniform in like an official capacity, she harassed some other woman that was dating like an ex-boyfriend.
Oh, that's not crazy.
And was trying to like intimidate this woman by being a cop, And she ended up being fired for it.
Damn. Shamika sounds shady.
So it sounds like Shamika doesn't exactly have a great moral code, even as a law enforcement officer. And I wonder if she did have something, like if she helped in some way.
Yeah, and that's why she was all hardcore, kind of trying to distance herself there in the very end. Could be.
I don't know.
I just don't get people who cheat, start a relationship out like that. How can you ever have a proper relationship? How can you ever trust that person? And how can you're it's one thing if someone's lying to you, that they have someone else and you don't know it, but then you find out and you're like, well, that's shitty. I don't want to be part of that. But
then you're in this person's bed, in your man's bed. His wife comes in, is like, what the fuck? This is my house. What are you doing in my bed?
Yeah.
Confronts you.
Exactly.
And you're just going to keep hanging out? Like, yeah, I'm going to roll around in this bed some more and shed some more hair?
Yeah, he has. Bitch got alopecia. No, he's got, well, she liked the lake house.
The whole thing is so crazy to me. And this guy, I mean, what a piece of work.
But getting to live his life out in jail is too good.
There were all these other stories too. Like, not only had he told coworkers like he was a millionaire, but after his wife was, dead, a lot of the coworkers were like under the impression that she had died in a car accident or something.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if like he had started that rumor. But a lot of his coworkers at this school in Chesapeake were kind of surprised to find out that it was a staged to look like a suicide.
And a murder trial.
He wasn't really elaborating on that or, mentioning that. And then he's arrested for murder. And they were all like, what? Like, we thought she died in a car wreck.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. Somebody like him would enjoy the sympathy they would get, but damn. I've never heard this case before.
I know, right?
What an asshole.
I wanted to bring you something new, Dylan.
Well, thank you.
My
Thank you for
main
that.
resource today was a book called Shot in the Dark by Diane Fanning. And there's also a lot of newspaper articles. And because, again, this was a fairly recent trial and crime. So there's a lot of information out there.
Well, thank you for that, Heather.
You're welcome.
appreciate that case you dug out of the vault. I guess it wasn't too deep in the vault if it was a recent case. And thank you to our listeners and our patrons for your continued support. Thank you very much. A big shout out again to Courtney. You rock.
Courtney rocks.
Yeah. All right. So next time we see you, it's going to be a sometime this week.
I want to encourage folks to go to our website, mountainmurderspodcast.com, and from there you can check out our merch store because we have some new designs. Got a lot of cool t-shirts, tank tops, coffee mugs.
It's flying
stickers.
off the shelf, folks. You got to get it while you can.
Yeah, there's some cool new designs, like I said, some old logos and different designs. You got to go check it out.
Yes. All Heather's creations as well, because she's so talented.
Yeah.
All right. So until next time, I'm going to go put Heather to bed.
It's the middle of the day. Have a good week, y'all.
You too.
Do you have a story of survival?
A parent goes to residential school. They haven't had that family connection. Those traditional values and ceremonies that many of us exposed to are taken.
Or have a lost loved one that was involved in human trafficking, exploitation, missing, or murdered? My name is Jasmine Castillo, and I am the host of Hands Off My podcast that brings to the forefront, specifically from Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Black Indigenous people of color.
Anderson County 911, what's the location of your emergency? Ma'am, what's going on out there? You saying a baby's missing and nobody...
As well as nonprofit organizations.
When I was a private investigator 5 years ago, we picked up a case that was Shanice Harris' case.
That help and advocate families of lost loved ones with their closure.
From sometime from his shift at work to that next day, he was either robbed or apprehended at some point with someone coming into the restaurant.
And opening a cold case.
So that, to me, was his way out. And it negatively impacted Armani's investigation.
Please join me on Thursdays on any podcast platform wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are voiceless no more.